I already clicked it.
You will seize power next time. No.
Forget the countdown. Yeah.
Oh, and now the countdown? We're not...
We can't forget the countdown. The countdown's the most important part. It's what the people are here for.
Yeah.
That's what our one viewer is here for, the countdown.
The countdown hour.
Countdown's over
There are very few things in this world that I can control. And the one thing is hitting the countdown and then the live button.
Oh.
So there's no weird and then you took that from me.
I was going to say, the one thing you can control, you didn't control it.
You took that from me.
Yeah.
What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there in the Geek Nation? I am Johnny Destructo, a.k.a. JD, owner of Johnny Destructo's Spirit Complex at 4327 Main Street. It's a little comic shop nestled in the hub of Manayunk. It's a little shop. You should come give me all your money and buy all my nerdy shit. You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, a.k.a. Spoiler Alert, episode 736, where we will review the past week's comics, as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. One of those will more than likely be Invincible, even though Brian hasn't seen it. If Brian hasn't seen it, he's going to GTFO, and we're going to talk about Invincible, because that show's great and it deserves to be discussed.
Is this his last episode of the season just air, or
yes.
Does something big happen? Oh, okay, cool.
Yes. All of those.
And more?
And feel free to like, comment, subscribe. We have some commenters already. Good morning, Cult Poppers. Good morning, everyone. I made it on time. Finally, says Mars Comics. And Len is back.
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing?
There he is. Speaking of Len,
pretty sure
with me this week is Noel.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm not Len anymore. In my dreams I was, but now I'm awake.
And also Brian.
Hey, you're right, JD. I am also here.
And Len. Len, how was your world record-breaking podcast live stream thing you do?
That was a lot of fun. That was actually 2 weeks ago now. But that was a good time. We had a ball. We had it was deliriously hectic, but everybody had a great time. You would have enjoyed, JD, the Friday night, our live cipher that we had. It was epic. I'm actually editing it now to put it out there for people. It was insane. These four guys rapped off the dome continuously for an hour. Two of them two of them from California and North Carolina, two of them in studio live with a live DJ at my house. It was insane.
Did they just keep Did they just keep passing around like a baton? When one ramped down, you just another one jumped in, or
it was easier. It was easier for our remote guys to just go back and forth because they were virtual. So they just went back and forth virtual, and they were off the top of the dome without any music. So they would just spitting a cappella. And then the two cats in the studio, we had live DJ. They were just feeding off the beats, feeding off the energy, feeding off everybody's in the room. Just was bouncing and grooving and stuff. I had to spit a couple of lines. It was insane, man.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it.
We had a great time.
Well, we're going to talk about this week's books. Do we have any letters?
I don't believe so. I didn't see any.
No.
Here's a quick reminder.
You can email us at JD's Hero. No. You can email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. If you want some comic books, you can email me at jdsherocomplex@gmail.com.
Unrelated email, just for your additional
Noel
email
is able
pleasure.
to control one thing.
That was for the later segment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, you're doing
I believe in each and every one of you. We're going to talk about Batman, Batman Superman number 7. Oh, he peaced out. Nope. You can't even control that. I bring you back. I bring you back. I took you out of this world. I could put you back in it. We're going to talk about Batman Superman number 17 from DC Comics by Jean Lin Yang with art by Yvonne Reese. In a world where Superman's rocket never reached Earth, the Dark Knight and his sidekick discover a startling rift between dimensions. On the other side, a world where Martha Wayne survived and Bruce never grew up to be Batman. Not only that, but a strange alien has emerged from the rift who's faster than a locomotive and can leap tall buildings in a single bound. The Superman of Metropolis. When these worlds collide, the architects of this alternate history are revealed, and the only ones who can thwart their deadly experiments are the Batman and Superman of Earth Zero. It's a dynamic dual-world adventure.
Wait, if you can leap a building, must you not do it in a single bound? Wait, you can't take 2 to 3 bounds. Where are you gonna?
You could jump to a ledge and then jump again.
Oh, and then over the building. Okay. Yeah. Or jump to a smaller building, and then you're like, I leaped that bigger building. You just leave out the smaller building.
Using the help of the smaller building.
Yeah. All right. Well, I stand corrected.
Was this the correct description for this issue?
It
sounds like the description for the previous issue.
Yeah. Plus the ship they specifically mention is in Batman's world. But that's just a minor inconsistency.
But this, I believe most of us enjoyed the previous issue, and it was doing a really interesting thing with the art style. Yvonne Reese was where you were able to watch 2 different film strips happening at the same time. You could read the one up top and then go back and read the bottom one, and at the end they converge, and it picks up from where that left off, and the 2 film strip characters, sets of characters have all been introduced to each other and are interacting. And I think it's a bucket of fun. I think this series is weird as hell. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the Auterio. What's the name of the
Auteur.io.
All right, one of you.
Auteur.io.
That's it. Those guys are kind of silly. I definitely enjoy the stories more than I enjoy the bookends of the stories. But otherwise, I think it's a lot of fun. What are you guys thinking, Len?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the whole idea. I love that. For those who don't know, auteur is basically what, someone who is a director or a filmmaker who has a particular oeuvre style that he, creates or uses in all of his works. And so when I saw that, I was like, all right, well, first of all, you already know it's a bucket of fun. Yes, that's me. Yes, really. I am smart. SMRT. Anyway, but yeah, so it's a bucket of fun. Like the whole film strip conceit that they used in the first issue, I knew they weren't going to use it throughout because that would just make for a weird trade. But they still kind of like played around with it by having like the film strip layout on the consecutive pages. So it still worked. Yvonne Reese, who has a very dynamic style, which I enjoy, I actually love. Yet this shows that he could be even still a little bit more playful in his art style, even as serious as he can be, as much gravitas as his artwork lends to the page, it can still be playful. As much as I've championed here that his Superman has become my Superman, his Robin may become my Robin. Robin is like really cool looking in this joint, man. Yeah. Like there's and like well, first of all, everything he touches. I mean, his Lois Lane looks very distinct and looks on model for the period from which he's supposed to come. So does the Batman. His Robin still looks playful and youthful. It's insane what's happening here. The whole idea of the conceit is that this is the Superman and Batman, ostensibly from their movie serials of the 1940s, as if they were in a comic book. Even though this Batman looks light years better than that Batman ever did. But even that's basically the conceit. This Batman still comes off as like a lot more accomplished and has a lot more toys to play around with, but I was still with it.
Is this the emblem of the movie serial Batman with the lines in it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think the lines are as pronounced if you were to look at it now, but they are there if you ever look at stills of that Batman.
That's also where the Batcave came from.
Yeah, the Batcave came right from the movie serials, even though the Batcave in the serials is pretty much obviously a cave set with a desk straight from Daily Planet there and some bats on a string flying around. Yeah. But this was fun. This was just bananas fun. I enjoyed every freaking moment of reading this. I don't care if some of it didn't even make any goddamn sense. Who cares? It was funny. I loved it.
There's an interesting dichotomy here of the classic characterizations of these characters, but then the grotesque artwork of Yvonne Reese, especially with this top left panel here with the Joker who's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mouths. It's pretty gross.
That you can see.
It has a modern that I can see. That's right. There may be many, many more.
He went out of his way to expose those ones. I figured if they were his kneecaps, he probably would have worn shorts.
Oh, I wasn't thinking kneecaps, no.
But yeah, and about Robin, I kind of miss this fun Robin. I don't think we've had a Robin like this in a very long time. Especially, we'll talk about Damian Wayne later when he gets his first issue of his series this week as well. But this Robin is fun. He's like, I left my math book out. That's embarrassing. And he's just like, he's got that classic 1966 all shucks kind of thing from the TV show. I kind of miss this Robin. He's cool.
Yeah, there has not really been a Robin of this type since Dick Grayson. Like, none of the other Robins have ever really been, like, flipping around, cracking wise, that kind of thing. Well, I agree with both of you guys. This was awesome. I don't normally like we are going to use the medium of a story in the story kind of thing. It rings a little thin to me, usually. But it's fine. It's fine here. And the way that some of these panels are done, like the film strips move around in a really cool way, or like the burning of it. There's a page you had up a little earlier in the story, JD, that it has the film panel is burning on one side, and you've got the bat plane kind of burning on the other, and there's like a nice kind of back and forth. It's a lot of fun. Len, I hadn't thought about it, but I totally agree. All of these character designs are like excellent. The facial drawing of most of them is great. And the way that they interact with each other is fun. It's nice to see a good like Batman, Superman meeting for the first time kind of story is always fun. And this is also larger a good Batman, Superman story, right? Like the Batman, Superman book is never or rarely going to have some like very consequential thing that happened. It's just like Batman and Superman teaming up. And this fits that mold exactly. It's a cool Batman Superman story. Yes, Tom.
This is going to sound like a dig, but it's not. I started liking this book more when I realized none of it matters. It doesn't make sense and none of it matters. The first issue I dug, but it felt really confined and restricted, almost claustrophobic because of the film strip thing on both top and bottom. So like no matter it was cool, but it was just like it felt controlled and constricted. This one they start to break it a bunch, and it's a little bit more, but it still feels a little constricted. The most exciting parts are when it explodes and they cross worlds. But then when it came to the codas, like the beginning and the end of the issue with the Earth Zero, Superman and Batman, and the Arturio, I was like, this is stupid, and that's kind of great. This is incredibly stupid, and that's kind of great. Like, all of the stuff that you guys mentioned was just like I'm not even going to argue with it. It was all of it is true. Like the art is spectacular. They created the sandbox, and he's figuring out ways to like fly outside of the sandbox without breaking the paradigm, and it's really really fun. I wasn't excited about any of this stuff, but I wonder how this is going to read in trade. First of all, I think it should mainly be read in print because they mess with panels so much and across splashes. It's like, this is difficult for an e-reader. And now because it's so wonky and so much is like, we're going back and forth through worlds, but that's the outside world. And here's the new villain. But then he introduces like 4 different new characters inside each world with the spider and the weird, like, I almost want to read this in a larger chunk than issues. You know, because
Hugo Strange like Closer was interesting.
Yeah, it flows so quickly that I almost feel like I missed things in between. But maybe that's intentional. I really dug the end too, where you're showing the panel now where the auteur actually is able to use any prop from any of his archives.
Yeah,
what I don't understand yet is the archives recorded history already, or is this guy keep making new histories?
That I'm not sure about.
I think I think he is the thing that he says at the end about like, I'm going to edit the best thing and then that will replace the rough cut of the original reality. I think he is at least in some way in charge of creating these things, but
it's the monitor that flunked out of film school. Got it. This is super imaginative and really fun. I like can't dig it, like can't knock any of this. It's super great. It's just there's certain boundaries that I had to get over to really, really enjoy it. And it was really just the format.
No, I agree. The first one was tough. I'll come clean with you guys. I forgot to read the Batman story from the first issue. I decided to read the Superman one and then read like some of the end of the Batman one. And I was like, oh crap. When I started this, it was fine. I like the thing that they do with the spots are thinner where things have been removed.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is Clark Kent's desk or where it would be. Yeah. Oh, that was a cool thing.
Agreed. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this.
Super. Like I'm glad that they went in this direction for this book, because just another normal team up would have felt too samey. This is like an experiment. I dug it. It was cool.
Let's move on to Crossover number 6 by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw from Image Comics. The dome has been shattered. The world is burning. Everything has come undone. Do not miss the shocking conclusion to the blockbuster final chapter of Kids Love Chains. I don't honestly know how I feel about this book. I think that the idea is very neat. I think some of the characters are very neat. I think the reveal at the end of this was kind of cool. I didn't see that coming, even though I should have. But, you know, and I like how the idea that they're using comic book characters that pre-exist in the mostly Image Dark Horse realm. But it just feels a little hollow to me for some reason. I can't really pinpoint why. I'm not really emotionally attached to anything that's happening. But I think it's got a lot of cool ideas in there. But yeah, I'm not wowed as much as I had hoped to be, because I love Donny Cates so much. I've really enjoying Donny Cates for the past couple of years and everything he's been putting out. But this one was just like, oh, this is cute. It's cute. I read it. I enjoyed it well enough. But I'm not like just hankering for the next issue. Like Madman shows up and I'm like, oh, cool, Madman's there.
Did you read all the issues, JD?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's just a lot of characters that I don't really know all that well. I'm aware of the paybacks. I'm aware of Black Hammer. Hey, there's Savage Dragon for 2 panels. It doesn't. All the characters are there, but they don't really serve much of a purpose. And they don't get me excited because they're all just sort of indie characters that I only have a very minuscule awareness of.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of what is holding me back. If I was a big indie guy and I had read all of the issues of Black Hammer, if I read all the issues of the paybacks and all that other stuff, I'd be like, ooh, neat. But really what they're doing here is they're setting, or what, you know, Donny Cates is doing here, is he's setting people up for specific reveals and then undercutting those reveals. In the very first issue, we're like, oh, the little girl has a drawing of what looks like Superman. because he's got what looks like an S on his chest. Psych, that's Madman, and he's got a exclamation point on his chest instead. Another one's like, oh, here's a character. He's doing all sorts of magic-y hand stuff. It must be Doctor Strange. Oh, cool. Doctor Strange is going to appear. Oh, no, that's that guy whose name I don't really remember from the Paybacks because I've never read that issue. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of ooh, we're going to do this. Psych, it's we're going to give you a PS5. Just kidding. Here's a Turbo Graphics. That's sort of where I am with the series. Otherwise, I think it's kind of fun and it's a neat idea. But I think it's those sorts of setups and payoffs that disappoint me a little bit. What did you think, Noel?
I actually have a different perspective on those setups and payoffs than you do. I do recognize the characters, but it wasn't. None of them have been like, oh shit, reveals. But every time that they fake out, I just am impressed by it. I'm impressed by the fake out. I don't have emotional connection to like a letdown, like my expectations brought me somewhere. It was more like it turned into how are they going to divert my expectations now? Not is this just going to be another reveal? It's not a reveal. So every time that they did it, I was just like, okay, let's click. That's cute. That's cool. That's cool. And it just kind of kept stumbling forward to the point where this is really fun. And by the time that the big reveal at so like you've got Walking Dead zombies and
that was cool.
Hit Girl and Incorruptible and Jailbait or Headcase, Darkness, like a bunch of characters from Boom, well, just any independent character. There's Tony Chu.
Yeah, Switchblade.
Oh, is that who that is? Tony Chu?
Yeah.
And then who are the people? Who's the woman and the man right to the left of him?
That's Incorruptible and his sidekick, Headcase.
Right. I read a couple issues of that, and
I think the
Samaritan.
That was the one that surprised me the most, just because
Luther
all
Strode.
the other ones are Image, Or
Luther Strode, I thought was cool. I was like, oh, there he is. But again, there's like, oh, look, there's a bunch
Retro
of
Girl.
drawings of characters who don't. We have no interaction.
Bunch of GoBots.
There's Retro Girl. There's either way. Well, so by the time the big reveal at the end of the issue happens, where the main character is revealed to be something else, I should have saw it coming, but didn't because they were distracting me over here, which made me feel incredibly impressed about this as a magic trick. Like, I'm going to keep promising this over here, over here, over here, over here, but really the story's over here. And I should have saw that coming. And that is what impressed me about this whole 6 issues. They've been promising all of these reveals, and technically they happened for a very specific subset of the audience. But really what they surprised me with was these very obvious other tropes that made the story more engaging for me. So like I what you have mentioned as kind of a beef, no, not a beef, something that keeps you at distance. That same thing is what impressed me more. The fact that they keep lying to me. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, you keep pulling it off, and I really appreciate that.
Len.
I like the logo. And
the logo is good.
Very cool logo.
It's one of the better logos that I've seen in quite a long time.
I don't know who names their child Ellipses, but yeah.
Hey, if they could come up with a logo like this, I would name my child Ellipses.
It's almost like
the
a
logo
comic
exists.
So I liked it. I have not read this issue. I've only only read the first 1 or 2. I think we read 2 issues.
Yeah.
So I read them. I enjoyed it. The feints don't bother me because, one, I'm already know that, even if they do get who you think they're going to get, they only going to be allowed to do but so much with them. It's not like if Superman had showed up, they were going to kill him, and this was going to have repercussions elsewhere. So
like in DC Comics.
Exactly, right.
Like, we can't use Superman anymore. Donny Cates killed him in crossover.
Well, I think now that the Boom Studios is open to this, I think that that's irredeemable.
Oh, is that who that is? Okay.
Or the Plutonian.
Oh, yeah,
like this
maybe.
Asshole.
It may be.
Yeah, and this guy, the guy that he's fighting is Buzzkill. That's another Donny Cates character.
Thank you. Again, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is with the the blue thing on his chest.
Yeah.
See, but my thing is that I was just reading it and getting into the story, and I thought the story was fun. So I was like, all right, cool. The reveals or the people that come in and out of it are cool. Regardless of who they get, if they get the big names or they get the small names, they're only going to be allowed to do but so much with them unless they get somebody from like public domain, which they probably can't even do with anymore because Dynamite has pretty much grabbed up every person with a cape from public domain. So I just get wrapped up in the story, and the story looks fun, and it looks so much fun that the reason why I didn't read this is because I just want to read it. To Noel's point, I like this reading something like this collected on the pages. I mean, I could have read every one of these issues in digital right now, but I don't want to do that. I actually want to sit down and just take in the whole book, and I have a funny feeling it would be that much more rewarding experience.
I would argue for print with this. Just a little bit, like read it however is most comfortable to you. But in print, a lot of the tricks or choices that Jeff Shaw and his color and D. Kniff make show like they just work better on paper, showing you like the difference between the dot matrix coloring of certain characters and the flat coloring of other characters. Like they play with it a little bit. It looks cooler on print in general.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of agreed to an extent with JD and Noel at the same time. Like, so I read the first 2 issues of this and then this one, which brought with it its own issues for reading this story. But the Madman reveal I thought was very clever and cool, and I did not really expect him to be able to get any DC or Marvel characters in this comic. When I think in one of at the end of the first issue, he speaks directly to the audience in like a text in the back, and he's like, "You'll be surprised who we get." I mean, like, well, kind of, I would have been real surprised if it was Spiderman or something like that. I'm a little surprised that this is the case. It might have worked better not to build up expectations like that, but maybe not, right? Like, so back in the 90s when all these things were coming out, like I didn't want anything to do with any Image comics. They were just like, no deal. I mean, like Spawn, and he was a bad guy, and I don't know if he was or not. I didn't read Spawn, but
you're so pure. I love it.
Well, so nowadays, I mean, I love the many deaths of Layla Starr. You know what I mean? Like that was when I was in middle school. But no, I wanted nothing to do with it. Really, like morality porn is a lot of what is great about comics to me. Is they always do the right thing, and it's nice. Of course, there's a wider range now. However, I thought it was kind of cool to see the Black Hammer guy, because we read that. I was like, hey, that's the guy from Black Hammer, right? Samaritan. I was like, hey, there's Samaritan. And this sword, I think we read the first issue of wherever that sword is from, God Killer? God Country.
Valifex. That's Lucifer from Wicked and Divine, by the way.
Oh,
Bottom left.
Thank you. I was like, I know that. Who? I know I'm supposed to know that. Who is that? Yes, it is.
I have not read that, but it looks cool.
Brian, you would like look
yeah,
at it, Brian.
Yeah. You would love it, yeah.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
You should read it with you should have like reference materials available, because you're the kind of reader that would read a reference and like, I'm gonna spend an hour looking this up.
I do like to do that sometimes.
Bring all of your encyclopedia.
Yeah. I looked up something for a different book that I'll mention when we get there. However, for a book called Conclusion, I'll tell you, this may have been an excellent wrap-up if you read the earlier issues. And I cannot truly fault it, but it just didn't seem to. I was like,
conclude.
Oh, wow, I guess, yeah.
Right.
I love that.
A real big cliffhanger right at the end there. And she's not supposed to be anybody, right? Like, she's just.
I don't know.
Okay. Right.
That's another question.
Yeah, she's whoever she is. I don't know. Right. I love Jeff Shaw's art. Just that panel alone is so good.
It is good. Yeah, the art is really good. And also, the little girl has powers. That's cool. I'm into that. Little glowy eyes.
You mentioned the voiceover. So like all 6 issues have had this like weird third person omniscient, like the writer is telling the story. And they start to break that in this to the point where they start to fade away, and now it's unwritten future, which I thought was kind of fun. So they're taking every single aspect of this book, every kind of layer of the story, and fudging with it. And I just find that relatively impressive. Is this the best thing? No, this isn't even the best Donny Cates. I just like that they're swinging really, really wide.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the fact that they did get all these characters, like, that is still cool, right?
It's
still pre-existing characters, and it's still a cool thing to do. And I am looking, it was real tough to figure out, but there is an issue 7 coming out, but it's written by a different person, I believe. Yeah.
It's Chip Zdarsky and someone else is doing
extremely white, according to his wanted poster.
It's Chip Zdarsky's writing it and a different artist, but it's gonna. I think it's supposed to be about the real Chip Zdarsky, writing about Chip Zdarsky in the real world that is not. Yeah, like so. Classic 7th issue scenario.
Yeah. We've seen it time and time again. Every 7th.
Time and time again. Yeah, every 7th. Every in between. Something weird.
Always Chip Zdarsky writing about himself, writing about an issue.
Action Figure Expert comments, hello. What's up? How you guys doing? Hey, Mr. JD, nothing this past Tuesday. Hope you are okay. He's referencing the fact that on Tuesdays, generally, I do a unboxing video at my comic shop, JD's Hero Complex, 4327 Main Street. And I show you all of the stuff that is coming in this week to my comic shop. But I wasn't able to do it this week because I'm moving above the comic shop. So here you can see everything is, not everything, a lot of things are packed up. This Tuesday I'll be moving above the comic shop, so on the 3rd floor. So that'll be fun. So that's what I don't know if I don't even know if I'll be able to do the Tuesday thing, the unboxing this Tuesday, because I will be moving on Tuesday.
Now, JD, did you choose to live above the comic shop in an echo of the superhero genre, where you have sort of a lair?
Yes.
Up above, okay, like a clock tower kind of thing.
To put a fire pole.
That's cool, so and you'll change into just different clothes on the way down. Yeah. That's cool.
Just like all that'll change as I go down the pole is my T-shirt.
Oh my God, this one's dirty.
Brian, Mars Comics commented they agree with you. Yeah, and I was the same way back in the 90s. Yeah. Now, these days, I read just about everything.
That's how I am. Yeah.
In the 90s, man, I was all about that shit. It's like, because I really liked all of the artists and stuff that went over to Image. I love Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane most of all, those two. So I was like, these guys are doing brand new stuff. I will read all of that. And I did. I regretted it.
I never followed. I don't even think I was aware of writers and artists until I was an adult. It was just like, I like Superman. I like The Flash. I wasn't even that jazzed about I would always go back and get the Silver Age comics, and I enjoy the original team lineups and that kind of thing. I don't know why, but that's how it was.
I see my baby.
I see my wife with your baby.
Sam is babysitting Kai while we podcast.
He very much likes Spider-Man, by the way. Like every time she passes the Spider-Verse poster, I could just hear him coo and reaches.
He's named after Spider-Man, so he better. Kevin Brown says, "Oh yes, missed you Tuesday. Holy shit, you are living my childhood dream of living above a comic shop." All right, let's move on to the next book from this week. It is called Miles Morales, Spider-Man 25 from Marvel Comics, written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Carmen Carnero. The Clone Saga, Miles Morales style. We finally see the full extent of what the assessor did when he kidnapped Miles back in Miles Morales Spider-Man number 7. This oversized anniversary issue lets the clones loose in Brooklyn and messes with Miles' life even more than Peter Parker's Clone Saga messed up his life.
That was a lot.
So speaking of the 90s, yes, anyone who wasn't around reading comics, there was a storyline that took place in the Spider-Man universe called the Clone Saga. And it was supposed to go on for just a couple of months. And the response was so huge that the marketing department of Marvel Comics was like, don't ever stop writing the Clone Saga. Write it until you die. And so they had to just keep going. And it went for over 2 years, this Clone Saga, which
was
was
it
supposed
before or
to...
after the death of Superman? Because that really kicked off this kind of thing, right?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it was. I want to think it was before the death of Superman.
Was it really? Okay. I was just reminded because a similar, like, that wasn't supposed to go on as long either, and
yeah, but that was actually pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
like
big
the Clone
speculation
Saga.
boom too, though. Anyway, how long?
Over 2 years. It went on so long that everybody, even the people who were originally enjoying it, like myself, went, guys, come on. And it was a lot of like, you're the real clone, Peter Parker. Psych, Ben's the clone. Psych, Peter's the clone. Psych, Mary Jane is Peter Parker. No, it got ridiculous. And eventually they just had to stop it. And they put all the toys back in the toy box, all that sort of stuff. And so now Miles Morales is going to have the same thing for some reason, other than nostalgia for the 90s. Noel, what's your question?
Oh, no, I had abandoned the question, but I might as well ask it because you said something. Was it multiple titles?
Yes.
Yeah. It was all the Spider-Man titles, I think.
All of them.
Yeah.
God, that's so... I mean, at least nowadays they will hold one back or something.
Yeah.
Like... Ugh.
Well, it's
That's
like
aggressive.
a status quo change, like...
But I
Riley
mean,
was
nowadays, though,
Spider-Man.
they would just still have, like, the Marvel Adventures Spider-Man,
True.
as well
Yeah,
as
true.
the, Hidden Adventures of Spider-Man.
Right.
They would not... like, when they changed up Thor, they still had a Thor title or a Thor adjacent title with Thor Odin's son. Or they would... You know what I mean? Like, they still today don't do just, like, full cloth. Everything is different, right?
Is anyone reading Miles Morales currently?
Yeah.
Same.
What? Why aren't you? You're the Spider-Man guy.
As I was about to say, I love Miles, and I have not read a single issue of Saladin Ahmed's run. Same thing for his Ms. Marvel, a character I also really enjoy. For some reason, it started off, and I missed the issues because I was too busy to catch up on them. And then it got to the point where, well, we're so far gone now that I'll never... Like, I have to start with number 1 because that's just the way this stupid thing works. So I just haven't had a chance to go back and read 25 issues.
I thought we reviewed the first issue.
Probably.
Because I read like the first 2 or 3, and it was only because we reviewed.
And then I don't think any of us were impressed. We were just like, oh, this is fine.
I don't even remember it, to be honest with you.
It was just fine. Actually, I feel that way a lot about Saladin Ahmed's stuff. Like I read the Black Bolt series and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's always just like cool ideas, but just fine. Like it's fine. It's cool. Yeah.
This was fun though.
I enjoyed this one though. Yeah.
I don't know who Barbara is, but apparently a big thing happened with Barbara, where Miles used to be dating Barbara, I'm assuming, and now Gank. You guys say Gank or Ganky?
I don't know.
I say Genki.
I always thought it was like gank something.
Yeah. Is that his name or a nickname in continuity?
I think ultimately it's a nickname. I think, but I could be wrong.
I think it's his name, Genki. The only reason why I say Genki is because Bendis called him Genki.
Oh, well,
did he?
Yeah, and he created the character.
Yeah,
that
Bendis
makes
says
sense,
it, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I do think this was fun. I actually may, if I can, I may finish out this storyline of the Clone Saga for Miles. What did you guys think, Len?
Oh, okay. The book was fun. It was fun. I haven't read Miles Morales, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. Getting back into his world, catching up with him, because I knew a little bit about what was happening. I quickly caught up. I recognized Genki. He was chilling with his parents. I thought it was kind of cool to me. I didn't know that his parents knew that he was Spider-Man, so I liked that kind of aspect to it.
Oh, yeah.
So like this is the 21st century. We're not going to BS you like that your kid is not going around swinging off of buildings. So I dug that aspect of it. Him teaming up with Peter, was kind of cool. So at the end of the day, it was dope. This Clone Saga at least seems like it's got a different vibe than the original Clone Saga, and hopefully we'll have a quicker and better ending to this Clone Saga. So I appreciated that. But here's what I came away with when reading this book. most of all. And especially in light of our recent reviews over our past few shows of The Flash and his universe, and my recent delivery of the latest edition of Back Issue magazine, which focuses on legacy, including a huge article that I am still reading about the history of Wally West as the Flash.
I want to read it.
It's really cool because while it touches on story points, it more is like interviews with the writers and what they were thinking at the moment.
Cool.
So it's actually gets a little bit more deeper. So I appreciate that. But having all of that in my mind and knowing what I know about Miles Morales and coming to this book and especially watching him interact with Peter, and also in the back of my mind, recognizing what Marvel has done with Peter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is, to my eyes, take a lot of the winning traits of Miles Morales and implant them onto Peter Parker in that cinematic universe, regulating Miles still whole cloth to the animated Marvel universe. And mind you, that's because it's from a different movie company primarily. All that in mind when I read this comic book, when I closed it, I said, this was fun. I really wish they had the cojones to put Peter Parker on the shelf. Put him on the shelf for a good 5-10 years, a la Barry Allen's Flash, and let Miles Morales truly be Spider-Man for the universe. Not Brooklyn's Spider-Man, as he is referred to in this issue. Let him be Spider-Man. I think that the character's longevity, popularity, and success warrants that change. It won't happen, but that's what I was left with when I read this book.
It might happen in the movies, though. I mean, his uncle was there, and that was 5 years ago in Marvel, like timeline time. So he could be he might be old enough now to appear in. Who knows?
I agree 100%, Len. As I was reading this, I was still going in my head, why is this kid Spider-Man? You can call him, Spider-Gwen is Ghost Spider now for some godforsaken reason. I'll never understand that name. But yeah, give Miles his own superhero name. Or as the Peter Parker guy, kill Peter Parker off or send him off to Canada or do something with him. Like they did during the original Clone Saga where he went to Canada with Mary Jane.
See, that would be an interesting and new thing. If they didn't kill him, he was just like, look, I've been through a lot. There's somebody to take over my responsibility. I'm taking some time for myself. I'm retiring. And then you can bring him back whenever you want to, you know?
Having both characters interacting in the same world with the same name, it just doesn't work. He did really well as the Ultimate Spider-Man. Peter Parker in Ultimate Universe died. Miles Morales was the Spider-Man, and I loved it. It was awesome. This just feels extraneous.
I found myself wondering when they're driving away. So I like the stuff with the name. I don't think that, like in DC, there's two Green Arrows. There have been two Green Arrows at one time, and there's two Flashes and that kind of thing. And I thought the interplay with it was fun, but I did find myself thinking how do you determine who is who? And then when they're swinging away and they're calling each other Spider-Man, I was like, well, I guess people do have the same first name sometimes, and they manage to make it work, but they usually add something or do something,
Yeah, one because you got two Brians, you got Big Brian and Little Brian, or
exactly. Yeah.
I think it's only a problem because we have an insider's perspective of their stories. The perspective of somebody that's calling out to Spider-Man is only going to know Spider-Man. It only becomes a problem when the two of them are talking to each other or the two of them are in panel, which is just a problem that we have as viewers, not necessarily logistically. But I do agree. Maybe we should pull Peter away. for a little bit or something, just kind of to beef this up. Again, not unlike what they maybe did with Thor, you know, put Peter on a vision quest of some sorts.
Yeah.
Enjoy your marriage. Go get remarried.
Yeah.
Have a good,
yeah.
and then let him take over. But just in regards to this book, I have not read anything, Miles, in a long time. And jumping into this, it was cool. It was cool. Like, I like how they're taking. Does anybody remember the Ultimate Clone Saga, which was essentially this?
Yeah.
Somebody cloning a lot of. So it was taking the Clone Saga titling, but instead of it being who's the real, it was just a bunch of wayward clones trying to attack and kill Spider-Man, which is exactly this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree. I thought it was fun. It was a good, a bunch of clones coming at him.
Yeah. I liked the abilities of the clones. I thought that was pretty cool. The weird, like, gobule clone, and then like the nasty knife clone. I thought they were cool. So, as just it's funny how people see titles and just get pissed. Like, we'll probably talk about it next week too with Heroes Reborn. Like, comic book companies reuse these titles all the time, and it's a lot of samesies. But having a larger conversation about who deserves to be Spider-Man right now actually is a more interesting story than this comic ultimately.
Yeah.
Also, I think, like JD had said, like, nostalgia for the 90s. I think it's even moved past that, where it's the Clone Saga is not brought up that often, and a lot of people probably don't know it, that it's really just like, there's clones in this. We're not referencing the other thing. This is the one that I looked something up for. The name of that clone with the knives, Salim, is of Arabic origin, meaning safe or undamaged. And I thought that was interesting because he seems to be the clone that is like the most properly made, that isn't like glooping around or whatever. Because you know how clones are sometimes.
Well, this one that keeps glurping.
Not from your own life, Len.
I just after a while, I start to hear the Rick and Morty burping.
Oh, that's why I stopped watching that show.
It's
couldn't deal with it.
Too. Me too, B. It was just too much. I was like, oh God.
And I hear it gets less, and I'm like, all right, I guess it does, but
I'll never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is fun. I'll probably keep up with this if I can, just because I'm a Spidey guy, and this is fun enough that I'll probably check it out. All right, let's see. Roboto someone 6 keeps commenting. They're really mad about Doomsday Clock for some reason that I will never understand.
Yeah.
And they keep messaging me that they're trying to start a petition to retcon Doomsday Clock. And they keep asking me if I want in on this, which I don't. There's nothing to retcon about Doomsday Clock.
It kind of, in its story, is about itself being retconned
Yeah,
and other things being retconned.
There's nothing that takes place after Doomsday Clock that specifically references Doomsday Clock, so there's nothing to retcon.
Right.
This feels like a troll. I don't even know I mentioned it. What was funny was, I think the second comment of "you don't have to do anything." I read it really fast, and I was going to comment like "don't say anything," but I almost read that as like "I'll know you agree with me if you say nothing."
Yeah, you're right.
Like, so just it's troll. Screw it.
If you agree, blink.
If you agree, ignore this message.
Well, but Roboto has commented. I mean, they're an actual person who comments on.
Yeah. The comment could be a troll without this person being a bot of a troll. Do you know?
I gotcha.
Action Figure Expert says, "Hey, you guys have to admit the old original Clone Saga back in the day has some killer artwork, especially some of it. Yes, but I have all 4 omnibuses." I've got the 2 Clone Saga Omnibuy and the 2 Ben Reilly Omnibuy. Some of the art is wonderful.
You like that costume more than the original, right, JD?
Well, which one?
The Ben Reilly one. The Ben Reilly Spider-Man one, not Scarlet Spider.
Yes, I like the Spider-Man Ben Reilly costume more than I like the regular costume. mostly because of the finger thing that they did.
It's a cool finger thing.
It's a cool finger thing.
Yeah.
And then I actually remember originally seeing the Scarlet Spider costume, which was just a red onesie with a sweatshirt on it.
Yeah.
And a metal belt. And I was like, what the this is the worst design. But now I have such nostalgia memories.
I always liked it. Yeah.
That, like, I literally have a sweatshirt that is the Scarlet Spider sweatshirt that he wears.
Best Spider-Man costume, since we're here now, is Superior Spider-Man.
Yes.
Superior Spider. Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
By Dan Slott.
With the great goggles, the cool shoes were different, and like it kept transforming to the point where it was just like a black underneath with cool spiders that rolled into it. Yeah, no, it's the best.
It's not
the Spider-Man 2099.
Hold on,
which for some reason has a skull on it.
Actually, Miles is the best. The black and red. That's literally one of the best costumes. But
it's good.
Peter,
it's
costume.
We're talking about
so
Spider-Man costumes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just Spider-Man.
Wait, who
Spider-Man
are you thinking?
Variants.
Spider-Ham?
Best costume.
No,
Spider-Man
honestly, while I was thinking, first of all, I do think that Miles is probably the better Spider-Man costume, but Spider costumes, I would probably, there's a toss-up. I do like Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, choose your poison.
It's a good costume.
I like her costume, and
pretty so fast though, all that white fabric.
I can't get over the hood being like an impediment.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
And
I probably wouldn't be super practical either.
As much as I love teal, I don't get the ballet slippers.
But I was going to say,
it's like shoes on a shoe.
She runs it close, and she might be topped. I don't know. It depends on like what day of the week. I like Silk's costume too.
Silk's good
too.
Yeah. Who's the one? There's one. It's not Aranya. Gosh, but she's got a black and white costume, and the whole suit is one big spider.
Is
she's
that
got brown hair? She's got like a brown ponytail.
Was that like the second Spider Woman?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was like Spider Woman.
The one that was in Secret Wars that Spider-Man was like, oh, this is where I got. Yeah, that's a cool costume.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So Robin #1 from DC Comics by Joshua Williamson and Gleb Melnikov. After learning of the deadly League of Lazarus tournament, Damian Wayne has a new mission: to win the tournament and prove he is the greatest fighter in the DC universe. But first, he must find the secret island where the tournament is being held. All right, I like Damian. I like him. I like his Robin. He's kind of fun. I do miss the swashbuckling, having a good time Robin that we mentioned earlier in the show. But I have not read Teen Titans in a long enough time that I know what Robin's current status quo is, other than he's not hanging out with Batman, he's not in Gotham City, he's got a cool new costume, and he wants to win a tournament.
I don't think you're missing anything, JD. This was just in the two backups. Well, you're missing these two backups, but it was in Detective and Batman. Like, I think that totally set this up.
He left the Teen Titans because he was like imprisoning villains, right? Without a trial. He was just kind of like throwing them in a secret dungeon. And I don't remember, like, I never read how he fell out with the Titans. I didn't read the culmination of that storyline. But to go from a kid who is Robin and he loves his dad and he's trying to best his dad and all that other stuff, and he's trying to lead the Titans, and now what he really wants, his goal is to win a tournament. It doesn't feel all that important. The story I really liked. I like the artwork. I like the story. I like that it takes time to like read manga, like a 13-year-old would. I love the manga little bit in there. I thought that was really fun. I'm like enjoying the episode, the issue, but just reading the description here, and I was like, man, he just really wants to win a tournament. All right. Why?
I assume it's some sort of, I mean, it's called the Lazarus tournament. It's got to be some kind of Lazarus pit related thing, right? There's got to something like that.
I took it as such. Yeah, like it's just more of like a heritage thing, which hopefully will be revealed later. Like as far as motives go, it's thin as hell.
I don't know. The way this ended, I think it's one and done.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys.
Go ahead. Go.
I saved it for this second DC book we review. DC is spot on right now. You know, like, I mean, I don't care that much about this particular book, this Robin book, because I don't care that much about any Robin book, you know. But it's just, it was still well done. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't read the second one if we didn't do it for the show. But it just, this, Batman, Superman, neither one of those are my favorite DC books that are coming out right now. But just as kind of a state of DC, I am very happy with what DC has been putting out. Like, I have not read a single book that DC put out that I was like, eh. Now, I mean, to be fair, I didn't pick up ones that I probably, you know, I didn't pick up Suicide Squad, but I never would have, you know what I mean? Like, but I also didn't say that about books that I did want to read, you know, like Green Lantern or whatever. So, and yeah, he's got a cool costume. For some reason, he still wears the R and looks like Robin, even though he's divested himself of that title. But that's marketing for you. So yeah, and the art was good. Yeah, solid.
Nice.
I hate his shoes.
Oh.
What's up? You just don't like those shoes on people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, elf shoes.
Oh, it's a different kind of shoe. Sorry, I thought it was like the Gwen Stacy kind of like bottom.
No, he has elf shoes. They've
Elf
got
shoes.
Points.
Do they?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Oh yeah.
Elf
shoes.
Oh, see, I thought that was just showing movement.
No, they
do have little like little
they
like
got the points.
spikes.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that either.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
The costume is stupid.
The costume's hella stupid.
Oh, I like the costume, except for
the
those points on his
costume's
shoes.
cool.
Yeah, it's a cool costume.
The weird like frills, the collar's cool. He made a whole big deal about throwing away his Robin logo, but he just put it back on.
It's not like it's his initial or anything. It's stupid. It's stupid.
Not Ramian.
It's stupid.
It's not like his name is Drake.
Right? Yeah.
Hey,
This was to in the words of our host, this was fine. This didn't do anything like, you know, this read like a return to Enter the Dragon. Like, I could have seen like Bruce straight from the boat ride over to the island where there's a big tournament and, you know, the stuff going on on this island that he needs to go and find out. I'm like, oh my God, please. I was looking for Jim Kelly to come out here like, oh my God, you'll come right out of a comic book. This was fine. It was fine. The art was okay. It was like warmed over Greg Capullo. I'm like, okay, I can roll with that. It did
lukewarm Capullo.
Yeah, I mean, like, whatever. The part where he's reading the manga, that was interesting. That was a nice stylistic choice. Well done, you know, but then that is preceded with another talk with the ghost of Alfred. Why don't we just turn Alfred into Dead Man and be done with it and just have him traveling around
that would be cool.
I mean, they don't know what to do. Look, I never thought that on spoiler alert or any place in my entire life that I would be championing for Brandon Jackson shorts, but let's just let Damian either be Robin and just show up every once in a while in Batman and let him be a little asshole that leads either Young Justice or Teen Titans or what have you, or let's do what we should have done with him perhaps a long time ago. This fun experiment by Grant Morrison. This was a cute ride. Let's put him on the shelf and give the Robin title, the Robin mantle, back where it rightfully belongs because Dick Grayson has successfully graduated from Robin. Let's give it back to Tim Drake that he is no longer Drake. And he is the Robin that he was meant to be. He was the man who said, I repeat, man who said, I want to be Robin. So let him be Robin. And if you want to keep Damian around here, give him another title. He could be He can be Sparrow. He can be Robin's egg. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. But just
Call it Robin's
I
egg.
like that. Just call him Egg.
Yeah.
Just call him egg.
Criminals are a
egg.
cowardly and superstitious lot. I shall call myself Egg.
I agree with you, Len. This was a incredibly competent and entertaining book, but it was also just like super forgettable.
Yeah.
Like it was fine. It was cool. And I don't remind me, isn't this the artist that got in trouble on Twitter for complaining about comic book artists that just do talking heads?
I have
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I believe it is. Like he used to draw the Angel and Spike book, and he just like did a whole thing like, you're not doing your job if all you're doing is 9 panels with faces. And a lot of people would send him like Tom King stuff and Alan Moore stuff and just like talking in comics, and he was like, you're wrong. But yeah, I'm almost positive it is. This is just fine. And when you said lukewarm Capullo, I was like, kind of, yeah.
Definitely.
The jaws, the facial structure, some of the art, some of the layouts, yeah.
Well, what
Absolutely.
we've got here is we've got Greg Capullo. We have Humberto Ramos.
That's a Tim Sale face and Batman there.
Yeah.
And we have who's the other guy? Who's drawing nonstop? Chris Pacello. Especially the Chris Pacello in the homeless people that we see.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I see that.
I am not a big fan of that style, although I like this more than I.
Well, I mean, it's
like
Chris
this thing.
Pacello without canted angles, overlapping frames, and all kinds of ink.
Oh, and for the manga, Rumiko Takahashi.
That's cool.
Of Ranma 1/2 and Maizani Koku
cool.
and Lum. Yeah, that's definitely Rumiko Takahashi. But yeah, if you look at this woman down here, the homeless woman, that is a Chris Pacello panel right there. Yeah.
So maybe what the artist meant is that you're not doing your job if you're not swiping from the best.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this a mini series or is this an ongoing? Do we know?
That's a good question.
I have no idea. Could not tell.
Now, Len, it seemed as though they were doing, and they may still be doing what you wanted, where Tim Drake is going to be the Robin of like interacting with other heroes, kind of Robin. I agree with you. It's tough to have Damian because Tim Drake is great, but then he has nothing to be if Damian is around. And, like Damian's cool, but he's probably not as cool as Tim Drake, by a long shot, really. But I think it would be great if he just got some other name. And I wonder why they didn't do that. It looks like they were going to, and, like he left and Tim is back. Like whenever you see him now, he's in his Robin costume with just single R and, all that stuff.
It was always Grant Morrison's intention to introduce and kill off Damian.
Kill off Damian, yeah.
But I feel like at the time DC was like, how are we supposed to write Batman after this? Like he's had Robin's die, but this is legitimately his son.
Yeah.
So
unless it was just revealed that it wasn't, Who knows?
They chose to have all the different weird cockamamie ways to bring him back, and now he's this problem for writers and for editorial. Like he just kind of, especially with the New 52, like that just created a weird thing where, all right, we've only got a span of 5 years, but all the Robins existed.
Yeah.
So that
New
means
52's problems did not end there.
That means Batman's turnover rate of Robins was just 12 to 18 months.
Right.
You're having your own. That's why half of them die.
Yeah. So it's a big old publication problem.
Well, I don't understand why it's a problem. Just have Damian be Robin and just write him as Robin.
I mean, the problem is making it all fit. If you want the other Robins to be in the same space and which one is which kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And every single writer has their own idea as to what they're going to do. And now we've got this Robin, not Robin title.
Right.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Interesting.
I was surprised that I was in any way interested in a tournament, kind of. But like when the X-Men thing came around, I was like, no. And I don't usually care about a game within a fictional story, But the final page of this grabbed me. I mean, I'm sure they'll reverse it, but I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's already died before, but all right, I guess he's dead again. I don't know.
He'll be fine.
I'll be curious. Maybe she's able to like alter how people view what's happening.
I think it's the island. It's the League of Lazarus. It's the Lazarus Island. Every fight is to the death. Like, that's probably how they just end fights. And then he's alive and he's got a new round.
Right. Oh, good point.
Yeah,
good
point.
So.
Yeah,
it like every single beat set this up as not a fake out, but just where they are means that all the fights end in death. But we need you.
I was surprised to see this many other characters that we know there.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was going to happen, but it was cool.
Yeah. Are we going to do Thunder Rounds?
No Thunder Rounds.
I mean,
I guess we could.
Well, while you're thinking about it, you can go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo and help out the show by giving us some money if that's a thing that you want to do. If you don't have any money, you don't want to give us your money, that's fine too. It's fine. You can just like, comment, and subscribe and share our show with your friends. And everyone get your bowls of cereal on Sunday morning at 10:30. Hover around the hearth of the laptop and hang out with us as we talk about this week's comics and some other stuff.
See, that's interesting because when I was growing up, Saturdays, because of Saturday mornings, cartoons, that was the time for the bowl of cereal. That was the time for you to sit in cereal, with your cereal in front of the television or in front of whatever you were watching. Sundays, for I guess us heathens that weren't going to church, was the time when my mom, maybe only, to be honest, and now that I think about it, only twice a month, would make breakfast. So Sunday mornings is my time for either eggs, bacon, and some grits, or some bacon and pancakes. So that's what I think of. I didn't have pancakes. I had bacon and made myself a delicious buttermilk waffle this morning.
I love waffles, man. Nice.
Yes, I did.
Waffles in our home are Christmas and Easter.
Oh, really?
Because Sam has a large waffle maker that's like passed down, and then she does her own batter mix. So like waffles are a special occasion. But two things I've learned in adulthood / during pandemic where we're all working from home. I make breakfast, like a real breakfast, almost every day, like bacon and eggs and toast, because I have time to do it while like I'm listening to a meeting. But then also, I haven't had cereal in the morning in maybe a decade.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah.
Cereal is dessert now.
Yep.
Like I eat cereal as yeah. I've not eaten cereal as a breakfast in more than a decade. And that's like a weird adulthood thing now. It's like cereal is a treat, not how I start my day.
See, I was never a big milk fan. So I was, no, it's not for me. But as I've gotten older, I get more into it.
Oh, Brian, you would have loved being part of the 60-hour marathon show, because I swear, very impromptu, we spent an hour talking about the different ways all of the tribbles eat cereal. Because there are tribbles that eat cereal without milk. There are some that only have have a bowl of cereal, lift it up with this spoon, and then drink some milk. That's how they get the milk into their mouth.
There's no orange juice people out there, are there?
There's no orange juice.
Wait, OJ with Cheerios is not terrible.
All right,
but it's just too sweet because.
Wait a minute, pouring OJ into your Cheerios?
Yep.
We're putting Cheerios into your orange juice carton. Ooh, thick and fluffy.
No.
It's like a hat on a hat.
No,
they're so good.
No, JD.
Wait, what's the problem with this?
You have a baby. No. That's the only pass I'm giving you for having frozen waffles for breakfast. That's the only pass.
Hey, let's decide this now. Let's have a consensus on this Sunday morning for the next 20 minutes. Toaster strudel or Pop-Tarts?
Toaster strudel.
Strudel. I mean,
Strudel,
Pop-Tarts
dog.
are great, but a strudel is a whole other.
If you had to
whole other
choose
thing.
one for the rest of your life,
Kill me
Toaster
now.
strudel.
I
No.
haven't had
toaster
either
strudel.
one
I
in a
vote
very long
toaster
time.
strudel also.
Yeah, I guess I will also vote toaster strudel.
No.
Well, Pop-Tarts are a staple. You know,
I am leaping off a cliff on that island and swimming towards like any place else. No,
nobody
I
said it
can't
was an
do
island.
those.
No matter
I
where
mean,
you go,
do you
the
have-
rule continues.
It's a binary choice, even if it's a terrible choice. It's like, hey, getting punched in the face or the stomach, still gonna get punched. What do
Action
you
figure
suggest
expert-
instead of?
Action figure expert says you can kiss my grits. Action figure expert, I've seen your grits and I will kiss them.
That's Flo from Mel's Diner, right?
Yes,
Kiss my grits.
from Alice,
you-
specifically the TV show.
Do you as far as Thunderons go, I don't think many people read extra things. Like I
read Berserker.
You want to do Berserker and I'll do Department of Truth?
Was that a thing? I forgot about that.
I mean, it's the only other extra book I read.
Is it good?
All right, I'll put 60
I
seconds.
mean,
Len,
what
you're
number
doing
is it?
Berserker number 2.
Okay.
Don't give anything away, though.
And I'll do Department of Truth number 9. Who wants to go? I'll go first.
I'm trying to find my timer. All right. No, oh, sorry. So Noel's gonna go first now.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go first.
All right.
Oh wait,
1
hang
minute.
on. Let's put it on.
Jesus Christ.
Thunder
There we go.
round.
Thunder rounds.
Thunder round.
All right. What book are you doing?
Department of Truth number 9 by James Tynion IV with art by Martin Simmons.
All right. 1 minute. Go.
Okay, so this is issue 9, but it's the first issue back into the ongoing plot. Not going to talk about the plot of this book. I just want to talk about the structure of what they're doing. So the first arc ended in issue 5, and the last 2 issues have been kind of one shots about the guy that shot Kennedy. Why am
Oswald?
I? Oh, Oswald. Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Depending on what you believe.
About what happened directly after the shooting and where he's been the last 30 years or whatever in this department. So it's been giving these weird like one-off background stories, and now we're back into the main book. What's really interesting about this book is that even though it's an ongoing thread about this department, every single issue kind of reads almost anthology style, talking about a different kind of like conspiracy theory or whatnot. So it's hard to pick up the thread, yet it's all one piece. It's a very interesting book, and I would suggest to keep going with it.
End of round. Well done. Noel nailed it.
Indeed.
All right. Len, you ready?
Yes.
Berserker number 2 by Whomst?
Keanu Reeves, Matt Kint with art by Rob Garney, colors by Bill Crabtree.
All right. 60 seconds and go.
Berserker number 2 is the issue where we learn the Vandal Savage-ish origin of the Berserker character from the first book. This great new continuing or short-lived, I don't know what kind of series it's supposed to be, created by Keanu Reeves, is full of action. It's full of angst. It's full of history. It is very expertly illustrated by Ron Garney. This is some of the best Ron Garney art I've seen in a while. And surprisingly, while this does have a Vandal Savage-ish type of vibe to the origin, it goes askew from there in a way that I think is very interesting, very different, a little profound. And I found myself really engaged in the comic book. I enjoyed this a great deal, even more so than the first issue. And now I'm all in on Berserker. It's killer stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
End of round.
I'd agree with that. It was a real simple issue, but it established like the rules where he's got this like internal clock and he has to explode. It was cool. And the art, you're right. This is like the best Ron Garney art I've seen in a really long time.
Nice.
All right, so those are the Thunders.
See, this is what happens when you eat cereal while you're doing Thunder Rounds. Spoiler alert, you can't do your hosting Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops, one of the few cereals that I can still eat. I don't even eat that many cereals anymore. But
So you don't appreciate the roof of your mouth?
see, that never happened to me with
Yeah,
fruit.
me either. Yeah.
No, that's a
understand
Captain
people.
Crunch thing.
You got to drench them. All of those odes. Oh, speaking of Fruit Loops, JD, I think I still have some at the house, and I'll bring you a bowl. I still have those Oreo O's.
Ooh.
Those Fruit
Yeah.
Loops with their
What are they?
Oreos. Oreo O's.
Nice.
Oreos.
Oreos.
We've got this weird thing where we will pick up terrible looking cereal and just share it with each other. I think Dunkaroos was the last one.
Oh God, that was disgusting.
I had a Reese's Puffs, and it was like chocolate and peanut butter puffs. Oh, it was pretty good.
That doesn't sound so weird, but when it's like an old Hostess cake, but now a cereal, it's like, all right, I'm gonna pick that up. Like the last thing I saw was Little Debbie's Cosmic Brownies as cereal cubes. So brownies cereal.
I wonder if they just have old
they laced
brownies
with
that have
weed?
shrunk.
Yes.
Nice. Just a little drop of THC in every bite.
Yeah.
Are we doing any more books, or is that it?
Yeah, we got 2 more books.
We do? What are they?
ShadowMan and the Marvels.
No, we're doing ShadowMan. All right, I didn't even know about that one. All right, ShadowMan #1 by Valiant Comics, written by Cullen Bunn, with art by John Davis Hunt. The forces of darkness are awakening, and they are hungry for life. Life cereal, that is. Now on shelves. Will Jack Boniface, feared by the forces of evil as the protector ShadowMan, be able to save us all? ? I have no idea, because I didn't know we were reading it, so therefore I didn't read it. What did you think of people of the book, the people who read it, Brian?
JD, I think you could take an educated guess as to whether ShadowMan will be able to save us all, but we don't find out in this issue. It was good. It had a 90s feel, which, as I said earlier, I didn't care for in the 90s, but much like 80s music and style, I have grown more to appreciate it after the fact, you know? But not like super. It didn't feel like an older kind of comic, but I know that it was that, and it kind of just, the creation of the character, the character himself kind of feels that way, and the way that they do the little shadows coming off the back of his head. But yeah, it was a cool story. I like this kind of story. I like mythological leaning stories. The voodoo stuff is something that I don't know that much about, but I find to be interesting. And he's got a cool design with his general look.
Design.
Yeah.
I love his look. Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm flipping through it for the first time now, and the cover. Ooh, that cover is real nice. But I gotta say, as for the design of ShadowMan, I can't take him seriously, because he looks like that mad cat, the grumpy cat.
Oh, now that you pointed out, he does look like he's frowning all the time, doesn't he? I did not notice that when
he's so grumpy.
Now I will be thinking that.
I mean, he's grumpy.
He is a skull, though. I mean,
he's a skull face.
True.
You know, don't let Halloween fool you. A lot of skulls are like frowny. So
I like this artist. I like John Davis Hunt. He did The Wildstorm with Ellis, and I always liked I like horror like this sometimes. I like the design of the character. This didn't read like a first issue, obviously, because this character has been around forever, but I've never read them, so it just felt more like an entry point than a new series, which I appreciated. I don't know. I just liked it paced, and I'm not a giant fan of Cullen Bunn, so I was kind of surprised. Like, this just flowed really well.
Nice.
Yeah, read well. I'm not into this type of book at all, but it read pretty well. The art design, I appreciate it. You know, it had it had touches of voodoo, so it has touches of like real world mysticism in it. Yeah. It's gory as fuck. You know what I mean? So if you're into that, it's cool, but for some reason the gore didn't feel it didn't feel like what's the word? No one knows the word I'm looking for. Gratuitous. It wasn't gratuitous to me. It felt very in world with the universe that they had set up. And so it was interesting. Is it a book that I would return to? No, but not because it's not well done, just because it's just not my cup of tea. But I think that if you are into, mysticism and horror and supernatural things, that I think this is a good entry point, and it's fun reading.
Yeah, I really like some of these monster designs, but I would revisit this in collection.
Yeah,
I don't know
the
if
part that you're highlighting, JD, where there's a layer. There are more than one. There are layers to these creatures that he's with. Like this guy who appears very monstrous and is in fact killing a bunch of people is there to try to save somebody from his realm that these other people pulled in, and I like that flip also of like the humans wear their blood to go in, and then they turn the tables on them and wear a human to come out of these other worlds.
Was really cool. Like they stole a demon and were bleeding it dry in order to cover themselves in blood to pass through, because human blood can't. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like it's tropey, but it's nifty in kind of an eyes wide shut body horror kind of way.
Yeah.
Like this was a cool, creepy book. I was impressed by it.
Oh, is his scythe supposed to be vertebrae?
Yeah. Well,
that's cool.
mean, it's
sometimes
it's multifunctional. So like it could be a bow. He just manifested. It could be a bow staff. It could be like a whip. It could be a full scythe.
Oh, sweet.
That looks kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think you might dig it. Yeah.
ShadowMan was always a favorite of mine. He is badass, says Mars Comics.
This was a fun book.
Yeah.
We don't have to belabor it. Yeah.
Well, Mars, I hope you enjoyed this issue. Sounds like it's worth checking out if the other guys are to be believed, which, I mean, take them or leave them.
Suspect.
The Marvels, they're super sus. The Marvels #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Kurt Busiek with art by Lildre Sinar, past and present combined in an all-new ongoing series. Kurt Busiek is back with the biggest, wildest, most sprawling series ever to hit the Marvel Universe, telling stories that span the decades and range from cosmic adventure to intense human drama, from the street level to the cosmic, starring literally anyone from Marvel's very first heroes to the superstars of tomorrow. This first issue includes an invasion from orbit, a picnic in Prospect Park, superhero sightseeing in Manhattan, the All-Winners Squad in 1947, Reed Richards during his time in military intelligence, cosmic beings beyond space. You get it. You get it. Yeah, there's another paragraph.
What was after cosmic beings?
After
everything.
Cosmic,
Did you read the letter at the end,
No.
Brian?
Yeah.
No, I didn't even notice it.
I was gonna say just a predilection. As soon as like the last page, you just like throw the book across the room. Because if there's a backup, if there's any kind of back matter, it's like, no, I don't know what that is. I can't see it. It's just
it's the way that I read comics.
Yeah, real aggressive.
Yeah.
So the letter in the back was Kurt Busiek himself, just kind of talking about the pitch for this book. It's meant to be the entirety of the Marvel universe at all times. So it's going to just be a bunch of vignettes that are loosely connected, and then he'll just introduce all these things and then start to kind of like pull them all together. So the new characters with the old characters, and the 5 days ago, 15 years ago, 2 days from now kind of thing. Which is fascinating. What did you guys think? Do you think that it was successful? And no. I know that I was going to say, I know that Brian and Len, big into Astro City, if this kind of scratched that itch and they were a little bit more forgiving for it.
I didn't think of it as forgiving, but maybe a little bit. I was definitely like, yeah, this one is setting up stuff, like this is drawing some pieces together. Also, the original Vision is I don't think I've ever seen him in a comic. The original Vision from the Golden Age.
Not even in his original comic?
Well, I never saw that comic. But no, I meant
the original Vision was never in his original comic. I don't know if it's a fun tidbit of trivia for you. Everyone take that and make it real.
Yeah, the whole time they're just looking around like, where's the Vision? So it didn't last long.
He's not within my vision.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was the word vision.
I heard what you did there.
Go on, Brian. Did you like the book or not? God damn it.
So yeah, I mean, it was just like, oh, here's some kind of halcyon classic Marvel stuff from Kurt Busiek, more a la Marvels for me than Astro City, although there is a lot of overlap between those two things. So I enjoyed the ride. You know, I'm interested to see where it goes. It didn't grab me as much as I might have hoped.
Yeah.
It would have. The idea that Steve Rogers likes artisanal stuff makes a lot of sense. He's like, oh, it tastes like the food that I had when I was a kid. You know,
my favorite
before
scene.
there was all this stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was cool. The whole Shoom thing, interesting idea. Probably something somebody would do. Sort of superhero tour in New York. I'm curious to see where it goes.
That was my favorite scene in the park with him and Carol Danvers eating artisanal sandwiches until Carol said the word doofus. You're a hipster doofus. Just stop at hipster. It's like an old man writing for a young woman. And like, all right, come on. Just.
I mean, he probably Seinfeld was the last time. You know, that's where I know that phrase from. Hipster doofus is Seinfeld.
That's a Seinfeld thing?
Yeah, they referred to Kramer as a hipster doofus before hipster was a thing, really. But he was like becoming a thing.
That's even more specific than if that's the case.
I don't know if it is or not, but yeah.
Len, what did you think, buddy?
Oh, this was boring. This book was so boring. This book was so freaking boring. I am a huge Kurt Busiek fan. I love most of his writing. Well, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of his writings. Yes, I do see the Astro City-ness of this all over, because if you read Astro City, even though they are different arcs that take place on different times of the universe that he created there, they all have like loose threads that kind of tie one another together, and sometimes you may not see the threads to like a couple of arcs down the line. And this is him returning to that world, and he's good at this type of stuff. One of the things that made me happiest recently was that his Untold Tales of Spider-Man from years ago is being released as an omnibus, right? Which was where he wrote stories that happened in between the issues of the original run of Spider-Man from back in the 60s. He's great at that type of stuff, right? He's great at taking continuity here and working with it. Letting him have fun with Marvel, it sounds like a good idea. And there are some things in here that are kind of fun. The whole, sightseer, taking people on seeing through scenes of Marvel in New York. It sounds fun. It sounds very Kramer if you think about it. So with that and the hipster
Marvel reality tour,
Kurt is wearing his inspirations on his sleeves in this comic book.
Is this a backdoor Seinfeld book? Do you have to be a Seinfeld fan in order to understand this?
Every time they change scenes, you always hear that the bass line.
Yeah. Well, we'll know if it's a backdoor Seinfeld if we see really deep in the cut. We see like a blue tights and red cape just jumping over a building. Then you'll know that this is a Seinfeld cut. And the level of my didn't care about this, and I was bored with this, started, unfortunately for me, with the cover by Alex Ross. JD's slow decline, or maybe it's both of them, slow decline on their appreciation of Alex Ross as an artist has slowly creeped into my brain. So now when I look at his art, especially now he does more kind of like, it's not really pastel-y, but it just like more watercolorish type of.
It's a little less defined than it used to be.
Yeah, and that just doesn't really appeal to me. And his art just now I just see the stagnation in his art and in his movements.
It's a shame.
And which should be primer for like, oh my God, this sounds like it's going to be epic. And then you open up the book and it just for the most part, just bored me to tears. I did not enjoy this at all.
I think that's my fault. I like that's his art is kind of stuck in my craw for many years now. The idea that it's picturesque and beautiful, but when it's in panels, there's nothing dynamic about it, and it just always bugged me as like sequential art.
I don't know. Spider-Man here is clearly auditioning for West Side Story, and I can see.
Nice.
I am never not going to sit down.
Everyone have a really good night, because where it's all downhill from there.
Amazing. I was also bored. I like the idea of it. When on paper, the idea is great. We're gonna introduce, we can talk about any heroes from any time period, whatever. We're gonna introduce new heroes. I didn't care. Yeah. All the ideas are there. The what's the word? The potential is there. But I just, it was a slog to get through.
I could see it like happening in subsequent issues. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a definite, but I could, like, looking back, if this was a trade, I could see this being like the little beginning pieces of setup, and then it gets interesting, hopefully.
I wonder how that kind of ties into what I was going to say. I wonder how long this is supposed to be. I mean, if I had to guess, maybe
it's an ongoing.
Isn't that what it said in the thing I read?
Really? I'm pretty sure that's what it said. I guarantee this won't make it past 12 issues.
No.
Yeah,
I thought reading the letter in the back, I got the impression that it was just kind of like a maxi of some sorts, but it was indeterminate how long.
Whatever the director feels he is best suited to.
He's a jet all the way from his first to his last dying day.
It's true.
Nice.
Well
anything else to discuss? How about Invincible?
The TV show?
Yes. Do we want to talk about Invincible for just a couple minutes?
Brian hasn't.
I made a Chiron for it.
I don't think Brian's even seen the trailer, but
I did see the trailer.
Oh, good. I loved it.
I loved it too. It's amazing. What a great show.
I loved it.
It's amazing. It was just as action-packed, yet still just as thoughtful as the comic book. Maybe even a little bit more so, because he has to dial back a little bit because Kirkman can get wordy. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, anybody that's read the first chunk of this series knew the big kind of event that the season was going to end on. And there's a line of dialogue. There's a whole exchange at the very end where Omni-Man decides not to blah, blah, blah. It was very effective on the page. It was even more effective in the show. Oof. To the point where both my wife and I were just like, oh, shit. Okay.
Wait, how many episodes is this? What is this?
8.
It's not so bad. I could do that.
Man, I got to tell you, of all of the crazy shit that happens in this season, the one that really made me go, oh god, oh shit, was the subway scene.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. That was. I was like, okay, how's this going to work? Oh, okay.
When the setup starts, I was like, oh, he's not gonna, because he'll just be able to. Oh, that's what they're doing. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kirkman, so the cool thing about Kirkman being on the writing staff, and actually I think he scripted 4 of these episodes, and including this one, it's like he gets to reimagine his own stuff or remix his own stuff. So it's just like, I always wanted to do this one fucked up thing. I could put it here now. Ooh.
But here's my question though, and I felt this a little bit about the comic book at times. For those who have read the comic book, or not even necessarily read the comic, seen the series, do you think it's a little gratuitous?
Yes.
Okay. Does that bother you?
Well, no. Wait. But gratuitous means it shouldn't be that way, right? It doesn't just mean there's a lot of it.
It's grotesque.
Yes.
Gratuitous is something like porn. It implies that it's exploitative and excessive for no reason.
No. Then if we're gonna use words for what they actually mean, then no, it's not gratuitous. It is grotesque though, purposely so, and it's supposed to show the potential real world consequences for the people having these powers and engaging the way they do.
And the book ramps into it a lot slower than the show does. So like
Very true.
The book, there's no cursing, there's no like it's a mostly off panel. It doesn't get brutal until the characters kind of age a little bit into the brutality or for shock value in the story. The show, to my chagrin at first, but like the show goes right into it in almost a borderline edgy way.
Yeah,
Which
I think you
could
almost
have
have
been,
to do that
which
with
could
the
have
show.
sucked, but it's overall it's fine.
Like
it
with a
doesn't take it away.
comic, you're like, this is on the shelf next to a bunch of other things that people are buying that are similar, and if you tell a good story about a superpowered character, they might be interested. Whereas with a show, I feel like, whether true or not, they feel like they have to get to the point a little faster.
Yes.
You know,
Well, they have to get to the
this is
tone.
what this show is. It's not these other shows.
Yeah, they have to get
Yeah.
to the tone incredibly
Exactly.
faster. Just
Yeah,
like this is the style of show.
Right.
Commit now, as
Right,
opposed to
I actually think that they took too long with the comic book.
yeah.
It's 13 issues before you get to the thing.
Mm.
And so when people are asking, hey, should I read Invincible? Should I get this first trade of Invincible? I go, yes, but you also need to get volume 2 of Invincible before you get what the book is. So
Yeah, that is tough. Especially coming out. I mean, that was over a year of reading it. Yeah.
And I read like an issue or two and I was like, oh, this is just fine, whatever.
Yeah.
This is nothing extraordinary. And it wasn't until someone had said, read this issue that I was like, oh.
My favorite in the show, my very favorite retcon from the comic is changing Science Dog to Seance Dog. That's all I'm going to say.
No. My favorite retcon from the comic is changing
Amber?
Yes, changing both the ethnicity of Amber and giving her more agency from the start.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's a better answer, and it's also true. I just wanted to make a
Should feel
Dr. Strange
ashamed,
joke. Yeah.
I know.
My problem with Amber is I understand why they did it, because they wanted to do something that you never really see in superhero stories, and that is the hero reveals his identity to the girl that he keeps disappointing, and she goes, yeah, I know, who cares? Which I think is just an incredibly unrealistic. Like, I mean, I can't imagine anyone having that reaction.
Wait.
See, I disagree, because it's not that she doesn't care that he's the hero. It's that she's figured it out all along, and she was waiting for him to tell her, and he had multiple opportunities to tell her. She was letting him into her world. She was introducing her to his parents, showing her everything that she was about, and she was asking for that same level from him.
With a guy who has a secret identity because he protects the world from supervillains. Get the fuck out of here.
Wait, hold on. I didn't read it either of your guys' ways. It wasn't that she didn't care and it's not good enough. I think it was his inability to even cover himself well. And the fact that he was incredibly braggadocious and kind of blasé from jump about everything. And like, she'll forgive me, who cares? It wasn't the secret. It's the fact that he was a bit of a shit about it. He wasn't good at just talking to her. It was always at her. And it was always, this is more important. Like, her complaint was that she didn't feel included. And not even in the secret, just in what they're doing together.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
in building some type of relationship together. Now, you could say that he was a superhero who had to protect, his secret or whatever. But at some point, you've got to make the choice. Because at some point you do. And
6 months into a high school relationship?
I mean,
first of
6
all,
months into a high school relationship is marriage. Like,
from their perspective,
they go fast. Yeah.
And this wasn't a ninth grade relationship. I see you on that, but this was seniors about to go to college relationship.
Yeah, go to college with me. Like, they were there, right?
So it's different.
I want to I love Amber in the comic too. Like, over time, they did so much cool stuff with her. The way that their relationship evolves, and then also ultimately how it ends, is like Kirkman did not have to do that much character work for his high school girlfriend because she was always in the back of the panel for a while until they focused on her.
And I think
which
that's
I thought
true.
was awesome.
I think that's true, but I think that was a realization that he found over time. And
this gets to it faster with a more fuller character. Yeah.
Right.
So like
this kind of goes
the
back
origin
to,
of Amber is good.
You brought it up a little bit, Len, with Spider-Man. And I think it's just modern stuff, you know? We have less tolerance for people keeping secrets from their closest friends and family. And I think that's probably good, right? I think that's probably good. And it's just sort of a different way of looking at it. I think I like it better, where it's like maybe they have a secret identity from the world, but the people that they actually know, it's not a bunch of lying about it. Superman was going to reveal his identity to Lois Lane in like 1939 or 40.
That's true.
Yeah, and the editorial was like, "Don't do that." And maybe it's for the best. They certainly got a lot of mileage out of Lois Lane clearly knowing everything, but not being able to prove it. That's
but
obviously new.
The mileage that they got out of it was by making Lois Lane look like a dunderhead that she couldn't see the difference.
That is true. Well, see, my feeling is she always knew, right? People are like, "Oh, she's so stupid. She didn't know." She knew. She just couldn't prove it. Why would, if she didn't know, she wouldn't spend every other week trying to prove it, you know? But you're right. That mileage, there was too many miles on that one over time. Now, you guys had asked me to save a story that I was about to tell you before the podcast about when I met Robert Kirkman at a convention. And you asked if it made me look silly. It does. Great. So one time, I had no idea who Robert Kirkman was. I think Walking Dead, I think the comic may have started. The show definitely didn't. And it wasn't big yet. But we were down at a comic convention. And it was towards the very end of the show. And my friend, Kirkman had written a Jubilee story, right? My friend was like, "I really want to get Kirkman's autograph, but I want to go buy this other thing. And, I have time to do both." And I was like, "I'll go get Kirkman's autograph for you." And then, so I go over and, I said, "Hey, can you draw?" I'd seen other artists draw like a sketch on one of the comic boards, right? I'm like, "Hey, can you draw a sketch of Jubilee?" And he's like, "All right." And so he was doing the sketch. My friend Justin walks up and I'm like, "Justin, I got him to do a sketch for you." And friend's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because he's the artist of the book." Right? And he's like, "No, he's the writer." And Kirkman's like, "That's pretty good though, right?" And I gotta be honest, it was a pretty good Jubilee sketch, especially from somebody who makes their living as a comic writer. So yeah, that is the tale of when I met Robert Kirkman. I wouldn't be surprised if he remembers me, the dumbass that thought that he was the artist rather than the writer.
You're a fool. Our friendship is over.
Oh, I thought you knew that about me. You went into this eyes open.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Let's just cut to the chase. Do you know somebody named Travis Bennett?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I don't think I do. And this, unless my past has changed, continuity style, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
But I'm glad they're happy with whoever gave them those services.
Keep it vague. Way to keep it vague. This is honestly, I feel like we've arrived because there's so much drama in the chat that's completely fabricated, and I'm glad we're not talking about it.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with what we're discussing.
Yeah.
Is that it? Speaking of discussing, are we done discussing?
I believe we are.
One last thing, just stay away from the Mortal Kombat movie. Have a good day, everyone.
Oh, goddamn.
All right.
Oh, yes, please stay away from that.
Hey, Len, let's cut to the chase. Did you once know Will Smith?
No, I did not once know Will Smith. I met him once, long time ago. No, I don't. I met him a long time ago, though.
Oh, did you? That's cool. We were driving in West Philadelphia and to pick something up, and I was with my girlfriend who is Armenian. She was born in Armenia, and I was like, "Oh, Will Smith is from here." She was like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "Oh, right." Maybe anytime anyone says West Philadelphia, that song doesn't play in your head, right? Because you didn't grow up here at the time that I did.
That's funny. I to this day have a man crush on Will Smith.
Sure. You can just call it a regular crush.
I have a crush.
There you go.
That's such an interesting way to pose the question. Did you once know Will Smith?
Yeah.
Did you once know him?
Well,
Are you aware of
he's
him?
changed since those days.
Exactly.
Oh, he has.
If you once knew Will Smith, you probably don't anymore.
That's very true.
Did you know?
Will Smith that I know.
Did you know the first form, Will Smith?
All right, guys, let's get the heck out of here and enjoy our Sundays. Thank you for hanging out with us the last couple of hours. And you can join us here every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. where we live stream the Spoiler Alert podcast. We review the past week's books Tuesday afternoons, except for probably this Tuesday, unless I can set up Brian. Brian might be doing the unboxing video this Tuesday at 2:30 p.m., where he will show you all of the things coming into Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex at 4327 Main Street.
Not though. Don't get your hopes up about that because there are other factors at play here.
Wait, what time is it?
It's not that startling, but I just don't want people to think that it might be the case.
I was looking at my schedule.
And Noel and I have been lax on doing our Thunder rounds throughout the week because we're both moving.
Yeah, he's about to move. I literally spent the last week just moving and setting everything up. So yeah, the videos will come soon. It's just actually getting everything set up for him. Sorry.
You guys are moving into a hippie style comic commune above the
together. Yeah, we're moving in together.
Right,
actually,
cool.
I am gonna live in their new bathroom. I'm gonna live in the bathroom.
Right in the tub.
Oh, another Seinfeld reference. Nice.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll talk at you later.